PHARAH should only be played with a Mercy Pocket.
I don't even think they care about her anymore. It's balancing an absolute nightmare.
PHARAH can still be really annoying to deal with.
Oh, look, Justice right from fucking above!
No, not again. It's not balanced.
Without making it too good in, like, bronze, silver, gold.
In Overwatch 2, there isn't a hero that's more polarizing than PHARAH. People's opinions on her range from her being one of the best characters in the game or one of the worst. This is because depending on the rank, or even platform, her power is completely different. This isn't news though, there's tons of characters and mechanics that are more impressive in lower ranks and aren't present in higher ones, but that doesn't justify it. I want to know why this is the case, in some ways it can be solved. But before we get into all of that, why is PHARAH so good in lower ranks? Her verticality is a pretty overwhelming thing to deal with for newer players. They don't have the aim or positioning to take out an airborne PHARAH. Picking a hit scan isn't even effective if you can't hit your shots, making her basically immune to counter picking. And even if your whole team switches to counter her, you're not immune to her for her teammates. It's a frustrating dynamic for all new players, but for console players especially, it's even more difficult to take her down with it being harder to aim. The same mobility that makes PHARAH so powerful in lower ranks is her main downfall in the higher ones. Being out in the open makes you a pretty easy target, and you'll feel how hard you get countered when people actually know how to hit their shots. She's rarely, if ever, picked in Overwatch League in high elo. The only use she has is if they have no counters in the first fight, letting you switch to PHARAH for a bit until you inevitably get picked off. But in those fleeting moments, why not play Echo, who is simply a better character that is more self-sufficient, who has far more utility. Everyone has had to suffer against this combo. We all know and hate it. Pharmacy. This team up makes PHARAH almost a good pick in better lobbies, but even more unstoppable in the lower ones. The damage boost combined with no fall off can spawn camp enemies with rockets that come from the stratosphere. The most powerful part of this duo is that Mercy makes up for PHARAH's weaknesses, improving your survivability drastically, whilst also making you an easy res since most of the kills on you are from far away. PHARAH's reliance on Mercy makes her feel like an incomplete hero that requires too many resources to be made effective. PHARAH has never received any meaningful changes to her kit since launch. It's only been simple number tweaks. Blizzard has said recently in a blog post that they've looked at possible reworks for PHARAH, but it wasn't plausible since it would alienate a lot of her player base. So I decided to take the rework into my own hands. If there are any PHARAH players that agree or disagree with these changes, make sure to leave a comment.
I think her primary fire is in a good spot right now. It's unique enough to differentiate her from other heroes, but simple enough for new players to understand it. But it isn't perfect. I've got some ideas to make it more fun, and a little more complex to encourage skill expression. I'd increase her self-knockback, making rocket jumping more effective, and another change that'd improve her skill expression is increasing rocket damage on enemies in midair. This will tie in with other changes. For her hover jets, I'd increase the amount of fuel she gets in the tank, but decrease its regeneration. To compensate for this, you regenerate fuel faster when you're on the ground. This change will reduce the amount of time you spend in the air spamming. The jump jet now uses fuel and has a much shorter cooldown. There's been times as PHARAH where her shift has launched me far too high in the sky, making me an easy target. I'd suggest a change where she could hold it down to adjust how high she goes. Like a Baptiste jump. The longer you charge the jump jet, the more fuel you use. But since it would slow down her gameplay, I would make the acceleration to the sky faster. My changes to concussive blast would make it more of a combo tool rather than a boop. Instead of sending enemies to the sides, it now sends them straight up. The height they are launched depends on how close they are to the blast radius, which will be reduced to account for it being CC. It'll have a slightly longer CD for the same reasons, and enemies in midair will be slowed slightly. Using PHARAH's ult locks her in the sky for 2.5 seconds. Within that time, she can't do anything, and she hasn't been given any survivability. Think Cassidy who gets damage resistance, or Reaper who heals off damage. To remedy this, she can just simply cancel the ult, so she can get one pick, then cancel, and then escape, rather than taking them down with you. Here's a full list of the changes, including the numbers. I'm not going to get into it since I've already explained it, but if you'd like to pause the video, you can do so now. These numbers are mostly arbitrary, and since I'm not able to test them, I wouldn't be able to tell if they're balanced. So if you have any other suggestions to change them, just comment them down below.
PHARAH's been in a bad spot for a while now. She's been neglected by the devs, and I wanted to shine some light on her issues and hopefully start a discussion on this matter. If you agree, disagree, or have any suggestions or opinions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Took me a long time to make this video, so if you have some editing suggestions or video ideas, leave them in the comments section as well. Anyways, thanks for watching.